Hi, Jody.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. All right. Oh, I guess I can just say it. I was going to type a message. Robert asked, is Tuvia online now? Unfortunately, not. His power is still out.
Uh,
So, so we're going to do a speaker panel instead. Hey, Marty.
hey, Marty.
Hey, Doug. I just now realized that you were doing that there. I'm sorry. No, that was Jody. Enjoyed your presentation there.
Oh, good. I'm glad
How
to hear.
how much of a learning curve did you feel like there was going into SQL Server and getting proficient with it?
SQL Server, that's been a long, being where I'm comfortable with it, and a lot of my job is translating old Visual Fox Pro into a SQL Server query, and that's what I've done with this one particular customer. And I've gotten pretty darn good at it, but how long did it take to get feeling comfortable, proficient with Visual Fox Pro, right? And I would give it, maybe along the same lines, because it is quite a big product. It's extensive. And what's interesting now, writing SQL commands, not so hard, that kind of thing. And Visual Fox Pro does do you a lot of favors as far as, following along. And it did, and with Visual Fox Pro, you could do ANSI, I think, was it 89, where you could do from, and then the table name, and then figure out the joins from there, or the newer one. And so but with Visual Fox Pro did not help you with is when you do a select, and you can put the where anywhere you want, you can put the group by anywhere you want, and you can say, whatever, and SQL Server was like, puked on it. And so you really had to learn what a well-formed SQL statement looked like.
Yeah, that's bitten me. That's bitten me a few times when the order by comes before the group by in a VFP statement, and you're converting it to SQL Server, and then it doesn't work right, and you have to reverse the keyword, or you put the top clause somewhere other than right after the select statement.
Yeah.
Yes. So learning that syntax is that was one of the first things. I did a session way back when. We did an after conference session, and it was called my Black and Blue session, and it was learning SQL Server. And the other thing too is with the group by, you can't, the select statement, how you can alias something, say the count. Well, that's one of the last things that it will do, and therefore the group by isn't aware of as the count. So you have to put in the actual expression in the group by, using the actual column, the table column name in the group by. Same way with the having. But there's definitely a SQL Server is really tough with that. Then learning how to create stored procedures when it's appropriate to do so. If you're going to use a CTE cursor, all of a sudden CTE, what's CTE? It's where it's like a temporary file, you define it, and then you can use it later on. Okay. I just took an 800-line Visual Fox Pro procedure and warped it down using 3 different CTEs and coming up with the report content. And it was a 200-line SQL statement.
Wow.
So as time progresses, you get more comfortable with what it can do. That doesn't mean it was efficient. So as I'm learning, and then you go back and you make things better, you create the indexes, you figure out how to leverage what SQL Server will use in the execution plans and such and so forth. So a lot of deep dives into execution plans, indexing, and table types, and the SQL statement. And none of those are trivial undertakings. And that's why I talked about them, because and then security too, and the maintenance plans. So anything accidental DBA, as I spoke, so when I was talking to my DBA gurus, they were like, you're following the same game plan I would have followed way back when. So
Wow.
it takes time.
Yeah, thank you for that. Because after watching your last 3 SQL presentations over the last few events, I don't feel so dumb because I realize there's a lot of syntactical changes or differences. And do you think it'd be a good idea to maybe explore SQL more, to take some database system that I've been using and upsize it to SQL Server and then play with it that way?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. And I actually wrote my own tool set to move data from Visual Fox Pro to SQL Server, either through free tables or the database container. I do not pull over, though, any of the stored procedures or any of the indexes. I do, if a table has a primary key, I will pull that over. And then I will add constraints. But I now have a little utility that can do that. But I built it over the years, and I've learned a lot from Fox Pro to SQL Server because of that.
Oh, excellent. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that. You too, Doug. By the way,
Yes, Doug.
for Doug and for Tamar and for Rick and everybody that participated, thank you for another great virtual Fox Fest.
You're welcome.
Enjoyed it a lot.
Thank you.
I'll
Hey,
drop out so some others can participate there.
That's what I wanted to just pop in here and say face to face that, I've always been intimidated by, Doug and Tamar especially over the years, but I've learned so much and I've built a career, and all of the employees at the company where I work are like, they love everything I make, and it's because of you guys that have allowed me to do what I'm doing. And I did want to say too that some of us, like myself, I had super small company, and so they couldn't spend lots of money. So my solution to get Fox Pro online was to go with Drupal. So I just use Fox Pro to run the company, payroll, and all of our service and sales and everything. And when appointment comes up or routing for our water delivery and stuff, it all gets sent by CSV to Drupal, and Drupal imports it, and they use app there on the phone, and they run their routes and they enter their data, and it all gets back imported, and the ladies and everybody bills everything the next day or right on the spot, and it all works great. And it's because of all the tips and tricks from Craig Boyd and the maps, and to the MDOTs from getting the speed from Tamar. And I just want to say thanks again.
You're welcome.
You're very welcome.
I'll drop out so some others can jump in.
Yes, please. That's what I was going to say.
Thank you.
Please do when you've.
Hi, everybody. I've got a question for whoever wants to answer it. I know that Microsoft is retiring Internet Explorer come June. My reading of their statement is that the OCX that I use in my application of Internet Explorer should continue to work. Is that everybody's interpretation as well?
That's what I understand. Actually, there was a discussion of that topic on Rick Strahl's support forum, west-win.com. It was about maybe a couple of months ago or so. And he goes actually into a fair bit of detail on that topic. So you may want to look up that thread. But basically, the gist of it was that the COM object will continue to be supported, even though the application won't run. Because those are sort of two different pieces. So that's,
right.
Yeah, that's
because in terms of 32-bit development, there really is no reasonable alternative to that right now.
Well, there is that the Chromium engine that Christoph talked about.
Yeah, I remember that session. It didn't look like it did half of the stuff that you need to do. It was really difficult to implement.
Well, yeah, it's not just as simple as dropping an ActiveX control in a forum, that's for sure. But if at some point that Internet Explorer ActiveX control goes away, then that will be our solution, right? So
yeah, there's a I think that control is used for IE mode inside of Edge, and they've committed to a certain date. I don't remember what it is, 2025, 2030, something like that. So I think you can expect the ActiveX to hang around as long as IE mode is here.
Richard just posted a link to the that thread that I was talking about.
Thanks, Richard.
think Charles is up next.
You're
You're
muted.
muted.
You're muted, Charles.
I
Sorry,
can't lip read.
hi everybody. Sorry, I didn't realize how this worked. I was just going to listen in. So do I leave or?
Yeah, you leave and you'll be able to see and hear the people who are on stage, as it were, up
Gotcha.
front.
Okay, well, I'll
Okay.
chime in again if I have a question. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Charles.
Okay. Thanks for the conference. Goodbye, everybody.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Who else? If you're You can
Tom,
ask-
I just let Tom in, but he hasn't popped up yet. So
right, if you folks, you could, if you have questions, you can either ask to show your video and audio, or you can type them in the chat, and we'll try to keep up with that as well. So pretty much, as they say on Reddit, ask us anything. Dare we do that?
I remember one year. This was at DevCon. Oh, it had to be maybe 96, something like that. Microsoft was taking a lot of heat. What was the reason now? I can't remember what they were doing. They were dropping something or not going to do something that they said they were going to do. And I don't remember exactly what the deal was. And so people were hammering them. They had at the very end of the conference, they had a panel, with speakers and Microsofties up there. And they started getting pounded with questions about, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And so finally, one of the Microsofties says, okay, we're trying to keep this friendly. We want to make this a session, sort of a tips and tricks session. You ask us some technical questions, we'll answer them. So please, we only want to have how questions. We don't want to have why questions. We want to have how questions. So the next person stood up and said, how did you guys ever think that you could get away with blah, 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 blah?
Okay.
Oh, that's funny.
And in the chat, Jose has asked, what is the average salary for a Fox Pro programmer nowadays? I'm not sure any of us can really answer that, because we know what we get, but not a conversation that I tend to have with people. Kathy says, it depends. She's right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with all the gray hairs I see here, I think the word depends actually has a different kind of meaning.
Yeah. Okay. It looks like Paul maybe has a question if you let him in.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't looking down there. Yep.
Yeah.
There we go.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
You can hear
Yes.
me?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm on this Jabra speakerphone thing. I hope it sounds good. I actually said this session, but I wanted to get some other takes about how my Malwarebytes browser guard is now flagging the Chen's website Bayujua or whatever it is, where we download VFP Advanced.
Yep. I'm just going to that right now.
Trojan as a possible Trojan. You got to have Malwarebytes browser guard installed on your browser.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, so it's specific to Malwarebytes, which I run in conjunction with ESET as my antivirus stuff. So it was a little disconcerting. Tom Belkin already responded that he believes it's because he may be on a same, what was it? Oh, gosh.
They share an IP addresses with something else that may be a known.
Yeah, in China. So I just
malware.
wanted to know, does anybody else have any take or news on that situation?
The other possibility is that there is a false positive. We get that issue with antivirus softwares against executables, not against websites. With executables all the time. That's something that anybody who generates executables constantly fights with that. So,
Right.
no other suggestions other than that. Jeff asked about his login credentials for evaluations. Rick sent that email to everybody on the 11th of October, and the actual title was, let me just find it. I had it here a minute ago. The title of the email was Virtual Fox Fest 2021 October update number 3. So that was sent on the 11th of October. So look for that email from Geek Gatherings, from info@geekgatherings.com. That has your personal credentials for evaluations.
Okay. Also in the chat, Tom asks, what about MS having Win11 only for 64-bit? That's about what hardware you can run the operating system on. It still supports 32-bit applications.
Right, but you won't have an option to run 16-bit
Right.
applications on Windows 11.
Right.
Oh, no.
Some
I
people
assume,
still do.
as you've had to do for a while on 64-bit Windows, you
Right.
have to run in a virtual machine.
Right.
And Crystal asks, does anyone know if it's possible to create a VFP-COM server that uses VFP encryption.fll for use with .NET or .NET Core? All my tests fall apart as soon as this is included.
Hmm.
You might try creating a out of process exe com server and see if it works then. Beyond that, I would say you can probably get the same encryption with native.net.
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest. Yeah. Yeah. .NET has a ton of crypto libraries and assemblies, and so yeah, you can pretty easily roll your own. In fact, I started going down that road. I was going to create a replacement for VFP encryption.fll. It wouldn't work as easily. Like, it wouldn't have a function you could just call, like as a native function. But the problem was that VFP encryption is, we don't have the source code for it. So if you want to make any changes or to add different functionality, you can't use VFP encryption. But then I stopped. So, but it's not that difficult to write that.
But I've used a native.NET library and VFP encryption and gotten the same results. So it is possible
Yeah.
to use it on both sides.
Okay, Tom followed up on his 64-bit question. But I have to attach drivers which are now only available in 64-bit due to 64-bit OS? ?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I mean, those 32-bit drivers should still work on this. Oh, there's Tom. Those 32-bit ODBC drive. Is it ODBC drivers you're talking about?
Hello.
Hi.
Can
Is
you
it
hear me?
ODBC? Is it
No.
ODBC drivers you're talking about?
No, ODBC is always installed as 32 and 64 bits. That's not a problem. But we got a scanner, and for this scanner, we now have Windows 10 32-bit with 32-bit drivers, so we can attach it via FoxPro. Now on Windows 11, it's all 64-bit, so the driver has to be the 64-bit version of the scanner, and we cannot attach it from FoxPro, which is a 32-bit application. So someone suggested to have a COM server which talks to the 64-bit, and our program, FoxPro 32-bit, talk to this COM server. But I think if there are any other solutions, like if it's possible to have an ActiveX in 32-bit talking to a 64-bit driver. Yeah, I hope I can explain my problem.
Yeah. No. I think I get it. Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's because I think we will not be the only ones having this problem.
No, for sure not.
If I have Chillcat, for example, they have a 32-bit DLL, and this is working fine on Windows 64-bit, no problem. I can attach it, it's working, everything is funny. But for this driver, I mean, I have another word, I don't have another word for it. It's really a driver for a scanner which offers some functions to attach the scanner. And this is in 64-bit, no chance. Same with Word. If the customer runs Word 64-bit, I have to have a 64-bit application. I cannot attach create object Word.application from FoxPro. It fails.
Yeah.
So maybe for the next Visual Fox Fest, maybe 64-bit can be a little session. I think there are some problems, and all these guys here, knowing so much about everything, may find a solution easier than me. So I think I will ask our .NET guys whether they can do this COM server out of process Christoph mentioned.
Yeah.
And maybe this is the only solution to talk to it.
Yeah, might be. Yeah.
Yeah. Charles also points out in the chat what a VFP advanced might be
Yeah, we sort of VFP Advanced. Thanks for remembering me. The problem I have with VFP Advanced is simply one word: Foxy Previewer.
Mm.
It's not available in 64-bit, and it uses 32-bit libraries like PDF Haru, I think, is the name. And there's no replacement in 64-bit, so we cannot use it. And this would mean we have to rewrite everything on reports, PDF generation, and so on and so on.
Do you are you only using Foxy Previewer for generating PDFs, or are you also using it for previewing?
It's also for previewing. And,
Okay.
it has export to Excel, and how do you say in German? We say Gesundheit. Santé.
So I think you have a couple choices there. One would be to contact Cesar Shalom, who wrote Foxy Previewer, and see if there's anything he can do about that. The other is I don't know if you've heard of or seen XFRX.
Yes, we have.
It's not free like Foxy Previewer is, but
No problem.
it works. And I know it's been tested with Visual Fox for Advanced 64-bit. They actually have 64-bit versions of their FLLs. And it has a preview window. It has output to PDF. So that might be what you have to do.
Yeah, we had a look at it, and it's really fine. It produces better PDFs than Foxy Previewer. So we will have a closer look now.
Yeah.
Right. And there's some other suggestions in the chat.
Yeah, I see. XFRX, yeah, it's a good one. Mhm. So I quit so others can answer. First of all, thanks a lot for all the sessions and all the things. Just one thing, the session which should take place now, they said there is no power. With power, you mean electric currency or what?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
His electricity is
in
out.
German, it has another meaning too. It could mean that he is ill or sick. So
No, his electricity is out. There have been a bunch of really large storms in the US over the last 2 days.
So it's a hardware problem.
It's a hardware problem. And
as always.
the US, unfortunately, mostly has really old power systems that need to be updated.
Okay, so that's good news. Anyway,
Yeah,
bye for now.
All right. See you, Tom.
And thanks.
All right. We have plenty of room if anybody else wants to.
Plenty of
wants
room,
to
plenty
pop
of
in.
time here.
Yep. We're still going to do our closing session. Same time. What was that? At 5:45, I think.
I think it was scheduled for 6, but we might.
Yeah, we might do that a couple minutes early. Hey, Crystal. I think you're muted.
Sorry about that. Thanks for answering my question before. I did want to just elaborate because I think I didn't really word it correctly. But now your suggestion, Joel, that was what your session was on, correct?
Yes. I mean, you could create your own out of process COM.exe, but I would say also check out that session.
Okay.
It might make your life easier.
I will definitely be doing that. I did want to elaborate. I did try to use .NET processes, but unfortunately, when the data was encrypted that I need to access, it was done so with the older version of VFP encryption, and I think there was the IV must have been buried because it wasn't like something you could pass to the encrypt process.
Right.
And so without that, I don't know how we can ever decrypt it. So
I gotcha.
I think I'm stuck.
You need that bug.
Well, either that or write a little program that generally, IV equals 1, IV equals 2, IV equals 3.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to double check in case anyone had any other ideas. Okay. I will take a look at Joel's session. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, Barb, there was an email after day 2. Barb is asking about the links for the other recordings. She saw the ones for day 1. Were they not in the day 2 email?
Let me just check.
Email.
Let me just check here.
But there'll certainly be an email after today, and we will eventually get them all up on our YouTube site as well and make them available to the whole Fox Pro community. One of the perks of paying for the conference is you get them right away and before we make them public.
Okay, let me just see here. Day 2 videos. Nope, that's not the one.
Rick has
Rick-
answered in chat.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I think what we'll do is go back to the right window here.
Yes, there will be videos for the on-demand sessions. In fact, the one for Joel's session is already up. And we'll get with two of you once his power is restored, and we'll record his session and get that up for everybody as well.
And by the way, everything is going on YouTube. I've got the first 2 days are already there, but they're scheduled so they don't become public until tomorrow. So tomorrow, if you go and check our YouTube channel, Geek Gatherings channel on YouTube, then you'll find all of the day 1 and day 2 videos there. And tomorrow morning sometime, I'm going to pull down all the videos for today and get them uploaded. So by roughly noon-ish tomorrow, all the
Depending where you
sessions,
live.
yeah, all the sessions will be available by noonish on YouTube and also on our website. If you go to the virtualfoxfest.com and the sessions page, there will actually be embedded videos on our webpage. So you can actually watch them there, or you can watch them on YouTube.
Also, on our FTP site for the sessions for the first 2 days, the chat logs have been uploaded with the materials for the site so that you can go find those wonderful links or comments that people put in the chat that paid for the session regardless of what the speaker did.
Oh, and to further to that, there's not a link to that on our website. We thought that might be a privacy issue. So if you go to virtualfoxfest.com/chat.aspx, that's the direct link to the page where all of the session chat was for the first 2 days, and tomorrow it'll have the third day as well. Paul, you have a question.
Yeah, this goes to Bo. I think I understood him right. Remember that you were describing the poll backup system, and Veeam only works on virtual machines. Well, my little network is all hard PCs. So was it Backblaze? Does that do the poll? Or do you know of any other backup programs that poll that aren't, you don't have to have a virtual machine to use them?
No, but that's a good question. I'm going to check with Chris and see what he recommends. Chris is the one that introduced the Backblaze to me, and that's pretty amazing. They're adding new features all the time too.
All right,
so
so
they may
that's
actually have something.
That's just a backup program that you like, but it doesn't necessarily pull.
It has their because they have two different types. They've got the like the personal version, which is designed to work on a workstation, and then they have their pro version, which is designed to work on a server. I don't know all of the features that are on the server version, so that may be a possibility.
But a server version wouldn't work on a workstation, right?
Oh, you want to use it for your workstation?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me put that down here. I'll ask Chris. I don't know without doing some research.
All right, thanks.
But are you asking, you like the idea of having it separate?
Yeah, I think my router would support it. I'm just looking for a backup that would support it.
I think it should be possible because it's using the volume shadow copy, and volume shadow copy is available on
I'm wondering
hard
if,
machines too.
Yeah, like Synology's, they might have a built-in, the NAS system, Synology might have a built-in backup system that could pull, but I don't know. So guessing at this point. All right, thanks
I like
a lot.
the Synology. Yep.
So, anybody else have questions for any of the speakers who are here or for the larger group?
Oh, Marty.
He's back.
Like a bad penny. Bo,
Yes,
thanks
sir.
a lot. I had to go change my shorts after your presentation.
So that's and it worked. That was kind of
did.
the goal. I wanted
That
to
was
be
your
fun,
goal.
but I want to scare you into taking action.
Well, I've already jotted a bunch of notes down while you were doing that of some things that I think I'm going to change the way I do things just a little bit. I've got my own Active Directory domain here. I'm a really small shop. It's just me and my wife. She doesn't do any programming, but she keeps me out of trouble and keeps everything straight. So, but yeah, no, I really, truly do appreciate the way you covered that, because it helped clarify. It got all the flux out of the way to where you could kind of see what's involved with it and where the issues can come from. So,
I like to know how stuff works under the hood so you can know how to respond to it. So I wanted to reverse engineer some of those hacks. And I was thinking at some point, for a fraction of a second, like maybe I could make more money as a hacker. Just kidding.
I had a customer who has a two-way radio. It's a trunked radio system. He's got repeaters in about 5 cities here in the Midwest. And they use a system that's a digital DMR system that has mapping and things as an extra service that he can offer his customers. But the manufacturer of the system requires RDP and will not allow VPNs on the server that Phil has to supply, the customer has to supply. They will not allow that, but they require RDP to be up all the time. And that particular machine here at one of the sites in Kansas City has had ransomware hit it 3 times in 1 year.
Jeez.
And so he keeps talking to them. And so he called me up and he says, "Would you be on the phone when I talk to these guys next time?" Sure. So you mind if I ask a question? No. I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement. Why don't you allow VPNs? At least that would give you some obfuscation there, and a little bit of protection. They're too much of a hassle. Too hard to get in. It's like
too hard compared to getting hit by ransomware 3 times a year. Is that?
Well, fortunately, there's nothing on there. You can just blow it away and but it takes him a whole day to get the system back up and running every time it happens. So, but that was very eerily and scarily familiar when you popped up that directory listing. It's like, ooh,
Yeah.
I've seen that before.
That was a sick feeling. I was getting ready to leave the office to go get on a plane, and I got a phone call from the client, and I brought that up, and I'm like, all right, I gotta go. And so I had to cancel my flight and book another one. I knew there was nothing I could do without being on site.
Wow.
But for the RDP, 2 things that do work really good is at the router, you can allow the port 3389, but do a whitelisting on the IP address if the IP address is coming from a static. Even if it's not static, like I have cable modem, the IP address changes once every 3 years, maybe. So it's not terrible to just re-add the new one when it changes. The other one is going back to these routers that have the next gen routers. It has intelligence in there that it knows, hey, you're coming in over port 3389, or it can even look at the packets to determine, hey, this is for remote desktop. And you just tried logging in 5 times and it wasn't successful. And the router just automatically blacklists that IP address. So we actually have a vendor that we work with. They don't want to do VPNs. They don't want to do whitelisting of the IP addresses, but they have one of those routers, and they do have it wide open. And if somebody enters the password wrong 5 times, it blacklists the IP address automatically.
And you have to manually remove it if you have to?
Yep.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for that. By the way, I just learned I've got a VMware ESXi server that I'm running a couple of, like my mail server and a couple other things on. And I just found out that there is some kind of vulnerability if you're not fully patched on the latest version of ESXi that allows ransomware guys. It's something really, really specific, and it seems very small. But it just goes to show how you really have to stay on top of that stuff if you want to protect yourself. So thanks for the reminder on that.
Yeah.
In the chat, Bill Chambers asks, moving to .NET, does anyone have a recommended framework such as DevExpress? Question mark.
DevExpress, I haven't worked with I spent a couple minutes looking at Telerik 10 years ago. We've used DevExpress for lots of stuff, and they've got great tools. I don't think you could go wrong going with any of the major manufacturers, though. I mean, they all have probably pros and cons. It's really what works for you. So, I mean, unfortunately, that means doing your homework, right? You have to maybe download their trial version, try out their different controls, go through the documentation. But like I said, we found that DevExpress worked well for us.
Yeah, we use Telerik Kendo UI for our web stuff, and so that works well too. Those, of course, that's UI controls. If you're looking for a full framework, we use ASP.NET Boilerplate, although it's a bit, the structure of it's a bit enterprisey. It helped us get off the ground. So.
Bill says he's trying DevExpress. Yeah, I think you'll like it. They have really good support. Been very happy with their support. They've got good documentation. So yeah, no complaints about them at all.
Okay. Anybody have anything else for us? So I'm going to suggest, since there don't seem to be more questions, that we give people some extra social time in the other session rooms, and that we'll see you all back on stage at 6 for a brief closing. Anybody disagree?
Thanks, Tamar.
And then more social sessions.
And then more social if you want to do that. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, we'll
wait,
see you all in a bit.
Marty's back.
Oh, one
Yeah,
more?
not
Okay.
really a question. I just wanted to thank you guys for all the extra hard work that you go through for that. And so any guests you kind of wondering or thinking about maybe another virtual Fox Fest next year?
We haven't really started to talk about it yet. We are
Understood.
certainly hoping to be live next October. But I think we thought the one-day event we did in May ran very well. Actually, I guess we talked about it a little bit. We're leaning toward another one-day event in the spring. But we still have to get the details together. And because that we like the fact that doing something online gives people who really can't come to a conference an opportunity to at least get a taste of it. So the thinking would be, the mix of a live event that would be a traditional Southwest Fox, and maybe more than one, although it's a lot of work, one day virtual event.
But you considered the one day, like, that was worthwhile to you guys? The one day.
Oh yeah,
event?
yeah.
We
I think it
thought
was.
so.
Yeah, we thought it was worthwhile to everybody, because the sessions, the one that we did this year, we did it as a classic format. So in other words, they were not brand new sessions, so there was not a lot of work for the speakers to prepare. Because typically as a speaker to prepare a session, it takes about 80 hours of unbillable time, right? To create a white paper and the slides and your samples and so on. Typically about 80 hours, at least in my experience, or more in my experience. So if you're only going to be able to do it once, one day session, that's kind of a lot of work to for that kind of thing. So what we did in the spring was we decided to have a classic session, because what we discovered last October was that the vast majority of people who attended Virtual Fox Fest last year had never been to a Southwest Fox. A lot of them were from Europe or Asia or South America, for example, where they'd never been to one of our conferences. So all of the topics we'd ever presented were brand new to them. So we thought, you know what? If we do a classic session, that means that the speaker doesn't have, obviously they'll freshen their white paper, they'll freshen their samples if there's any changes in that topic. Practice it, obviously, to become familiar with it again, but not nearly as much work as creating a brand new session. But from the attendees' point of view, for most attendees, maybe all of them, it was a brand new session as far as they were concerned.
And even for those where it wasn't, we consciously picked things that were at least a few years old. And I don't know about the rest of you, but hearing a session again after a few years, it's almost like new to me.
Yeah.
Well, for me, because I'm in May, I did the
SQL Server execution plans.
Yes, thank you. I dove in deeper. So I ended up with a paper. My original white paper was only about 10 pages long. I ended up, I think, close to 60, 70 pages when I got done for the spring session. So I enjoyed it because I got to learn more about something that I was, when I first started, it was like, oh, they're telling me I need to learn this. Okay. And that's what I did.
Well, and a couple of comments here sort of bring up a slightly different topic. Tom, you had said in your comment, in your chat comment about consider having a mixed conference. And Diane points out that virtual is also great for people around the world. I think that's one of the reasons why we don't want to abandon, like once we get to go and do live conferences again, I don't think we're going to abandon Virtual FoxFest, just because it's shown to us that there's lots of people who, for whatever reason, won't or can't come to an in-person conference. Maybe the cost is too much. In Matt Slay's case, the late departed Matt Slay, he didn't come to Virtual FoxFest very often because he had a disabled child, and it was difficult for him to get away from his family for the better part of a week. And I'm sure other people are in similar situations where they're dealing with ailing parents or whatever, for whatever reason they just can't come to a conference. So I don't see us abandoning the virtual conference. I think we'll still continue doing that. But back to the idea of a mixed conference. So by mixed, I assume you mean having it live for those people who are there, but recorded for those people who aren't. We're going to talk about that. We, for a long time, had looked at having somebody videotape all of the presentations. The problem is it's extremely expensive because we have 3 ongoing rooms at a time. In the in-person conference, we have 3 simultaneous sessions at a time. So that means we have to have 3 separate videography teams going all the time. The cost was a minimum of $10,000, and the problem is, how do we recoup that cost? I mean, we'd have to have 100 people paying us $100 each just to break even on that. So that always scared us. So one possibility, and we'll talk about this, but one possibility is having the speakers, when they do their presentation, in person, to also have hop-in backstage running on their machines. So that way they're doing both. They're talking to a room full of people, but they're also broadcasting live. I don't know if it's going to work or not. We'll have to play with it a bit. We'll have to discuss it and see whether it's feasible, but it's a possibility.
Yeah, the downside, of course, is that those of us, when we present live, a lot of us move around when we present, and so that becomes it's harder. But we're going to talk about all of this. For sure, we are looking at having both live and separate virtual events, even if we don't end up making Southwest Fox a hybrid event.
Right.
Sure. Well, that's a great idea. I know I haven't been to Phoenix since 2007. I think was my last year out there.
Oh, wow.
And don't ever buy a company that owes you money. There's usually a reason. So there's your tip for the day, for what it's worth.
That just paid for the conference.
There you go. Yeah. So I got it shut down at the end of 2017, but it was very interesting getting to see that. Like, for example, Jody's session, I didn't ever get to see that, and I learned more about SQL Server in May than I think I ever did in any one setting doing anything. And so Yeah, there you go. See, you did very well, Jody. Thank you. So I would be excited about being able to do them virtually. It's a little easier. My wife and I do a lot of volunteer work now, and so the schedules are usually kind of full with that. And so it was really nice being able to do this. And by the way, thank you for splitting them across 3 weeks. I don't know. I might have had to have 911 come and pry me out of my chair if we'd have tried to do them 3 days in a row.
Yeah.
But no, I mean,
Yeah,
it's been very, very nice. And I'm hoping to get back more into doing more development work. I've been working on more hardware here the last few years too. So I'm kind of getting tired of burning my fingers and things. So I'm ready to go back to using a keyboard more. So we'll look forward to some new things to come.
Paul does have a good point. He says latency becomes an issue with remote viewers asking questions in a live event.
Right. Well,
And that's definitely, that's definitely, I mean, that's one of the technical problems, but it might be kind of a, this is the best we can do, right? So there are going to be a few little glitches, but it's better than nothing. So I don't know. We'll see.
We're going to kick it around. Tom Bellin, did you have a question?
Just wanted to show his daughter.
Just wanted to show off an adorable child.
I was hoping that putting her on camera would make her leave, and it seems to have worked. Although, thank you, Tom, for showing your cat. She really enjoyed the cat. Did the cat turn off your camera?
Yes. She was thinking, I have done enough now with this lousy computer, and it's
dinner time.
It's playtime, and so she walked around the keywords. Sometimes once she even succeeded in pressing Control-Alt-Delete. So,
oh no!
Oh no!
Oops! It's a computer cat.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Just to mention the online conference, it's because I asked my boss, and he said, traveling is expensive, but this is not the only problem. The main problem is that due to Corona, from one day to another, they might decide that we have to quarantine. If we go to USA or if we come from USA, and sitting around at maximum 24 days, 28 days quarantined, even I'm vaccinated, but this doesn't matter. So this can really kill a company. If you have two guys going to a conference, they come back and they are 28 days in quarantine. This is not acceptable. So he suggested, why not have a conference live, recorded simply with a simple webcam, doesn't matter how much quality, but also make the white papers and the session material available for sale. So
we do, yeah.
Yeah, so this somebody can suggest to have a video and or have material, and so make a package for the online guys and have a package for those who can attend, who can travel there.
Well, like I said, the issue with having having it done sort of the traditional way with a video camera that actually records somebody is the cost. I think the last time we priced it out was more than 10 years ago. It was $10,000 then. It would be more than that. It would be more than that now. So, right. So we just would have no way to recoup that cost. So, but like I said, maybe Hopin will give us the solution. So
or maybe you ask again, because we record some sessions of our training sessions with a professional videograph, and he charged us with about $1,000 a day. So it has become much less expensive.
But that would be about 10,000 for us, because we have multiple rooms.
We have three rooms,
people, multiple days. So
I see. So maybe you can ask for it. But even the conference material and the chat, for example, the chat as a Word document, I found it now on the download server. It's an excellent idea. So having the chat and having the material and the white paper or the presentation would be better than to have nothing.
No,
so
but we've always offered the white papers for sale.
Sure.
We like going back to 2007. If you want,
I will have to check.
Yeah, if you want any year's worth of material, contact Rick and he'll be happy to.
But we don't generally say that in public.
We
usually just offer it after the conference for those.
If somebody contacts us,
because what we don't want is for people to decide, I'll pay, but I'll save a whole lot of money by not going in person because
Yeah, I
I
see.
said this the other day, but I'll say it again. The economics of running a conference are
This is hard.
challenging.
Yeah, I
We
know.
commit to a certain number of room nights at the hotel,
Mhm.
and exchange for producing those room nights from attendees, we get the meeting rooms for free.
Mhm.
So
I
if
see.
people decide, oh, I'll just pay just the fee and get the materials and not bother to spend the travel money, and so they don't stay at the hotel, it could upset the apple cart that makes the conference
see.
affordable.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and your point about quarantine sort of brings up another issue, and that is because there's such a long lead time for an in-person conference. We typically start planning, January, February, and for sure get ramped up by March, April for a conference that's in October. And we have to make a commitment to the hotel by July 2nd. The worst case scenario would be on July 2nd, we say, yes, we're going ahead. And then say early September, the Omega variant comes around and everything
Yeah.
gets closed up. Right?
Yeah, but this may be, but it's a question. It's not the fee to pay. There can be a refund or whatever. The main problem for us will be a quarantine, and you never know what will happen next year. We are now used to have no lockdown and less problems. We have many vaccinated people in Germany, but this quarantine is over us and taking us no journeys outside Germany, because returning can be a problem. And we had some guys at start of the year who were quarantined, and they really had to stay 14 days in quarantine. They were not allowed to enter their offices or home anymore. And this was a real problem. Working outside is always hard. But I hope everything will go okay, and then maybe we think of going in person. I would prefer to have a conference live, but I have to accept the problems.
Yeah, well, we'll
You will find a solution. You do it not for the first time.
Yeah, we'll start looking. We'll probably start looking at how things look in February and see whether it looks like a live conference for next year is going to be feasible. How are the vaccination rates going in all kinds of places? Are there any worrying new variants and so forth? And we'll kick it around probably pretty strongly.
Raymond has a point. He says we don't actually have to record all 3 sessions at a time because of repeats, except for the first day and a half. They're all brand new.
Well, but we don't have to.
So
we could record the first instance of some and the second instance of others.
Well, we would probably need at least 2 cameras.
Probably because, well, but we might
either way, it's still going to be expensive. It's going to be. I mean, again, let's just say that 2 cameras for 3 days and the videographers and yada yada yada. Given that 10 years ago was 10 grand, let's say it's going to be 10 grand now for that. Who knows? We'd have to check it out.
Yeah.
And again, how do we recoup that cost?
Right.
I know we can. I know we would. We would charge people for the videos. Except, would we get enough people? Would we get 100 people paying us $100 each? If we don't, that means we've just lost a bunch of money. That's money out of our pockets for something that never panned out. And Tamara and Rick and I are trying to avoid, having a lot of money come out of our pockets. That's
right. Anyway, the answer is we're gonna.
You will check it out and
look
maybe
at what our options are.
You do something like we did. We only accepted pre-bookings for video conference add-ons. So if someone wanted to join our training sessions, they could be there in the hotel, or they could join the video session. But for the video, if they want video and session material and so on, it was the same cost as a live conference, but it had to be paid in advance. So we know how many people will come to hotel and how many people will join online session. And then we decided, yes, it's okay to have a videographer and to have a hotel, to have both. So calculation was possible, but we will see next year.
Yeah, we definitely are going to be discussing all of these issues, and we will see what seems to make the most sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, Randy's. I mean,
Yeah.
Randy's point is that maybe. I mean, that's what we're planning on looking at. Is can we use Hopin at the same time as doing a live presentation, and will that be feasible? It might. It certainly might be. I mean, you just, and it doesn't actually matter if the speaker moves around, as long as they have a
Once-
microphone.
And once they've
Once they turn their
turned
webcam
the
off,
camera off.
right? Yeah,
Right.
then they can walk around all they want, right? So.
Yeah.
So it would be the same as now. If they put a webcam on and hop in, I think it's the same as we have now, and it's okay.
Yeah.
So-
We'll definitely be kicking all of this around over the winter
Yeah.
as we
If-
think
by the
about
way,
what our options for next year.
Is there a limit on how long a session may take? Do you have one?
No.
No. So if someone suggests I have something, but I need 2 hours to present it, would you accept things like this?
Hmm.
We could certainly think about it.
We'd be more likely to suggest that something that's 2 hours is actually a two-part
Very long.
session, because that's an hour to present and 15 minutes for questions for each part. We don't think attendees can sit for a 2-hour session. No, we can't.
Well,
Right.
like Matthew said, like a pre-con. We used to have for the in-person ones, we would have the day before the conference started, we would have pre-conference sessions, which were 3 hours each, but there was a break in the middle, so they were really 2 hour and a quarter sessions with a break.
But you can split into two, I think, two
Yeah,
sessions.
we've done that. We've occasionally had somebody present something as part
I'm,
of
es-
it.
I'm especially thinking of Christoph. From session to session, he speaks faster, and so. Hi, Christoph. So I think it may be a good idea to make sessions longer.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have to take care for my cat. I think she's redecorating my home here now. So I say bye for now. And again, thanks a lot for all the sessions and all the help.
You're very welcome.
Thanks
Bye
for
for
coming.
now.
Bye, Tom. Thank you.
Okay.
Du Katzenmonster.
Okay. So I think at this point, probably we've taken all the questions that people have. All right, so we'll see you. Doug and I will be back on stage at 6 for a brief closing, and go and socialize in the other session rooms, and we'll see you a little bit later.
Alrighty.
Sounds
Bye.
good.
Bye.